Our reporter Linda Mnisi at the Carltonville Hospital, where survivors of the crash have now been taken. Linda, good afternoon to you. What do we know at this stage about what actually happened?
All right, Stephen, so from the reports that we're receiving here from the scene to the hospital is that there was a van that was traveling behind this minibus taxi that was ferrying school children to school this morning, and it hit that particular minibus taxi, leading it to overturn and, catching fire. So in that accident, we know that 12 learners lost their lives. 8 were rushed to the hospital that you see behind me, the Carltonville Hospital. 7 of them have since been discharged and one of them remains. He'll be taken to the Baragwanath Hospital due to the kind of injuries that he has sustained. Parents already being prepared to wait for authorities to give them direction on what's to happen in the coming days. The learners that died in that tragic accident, Stephen, were burnt beyond recognition, and that means that they are unidentifiable, and that means also the DNA identification will then come in. So authorities preparing to start with the processes of identifying those learners through DNA testing, but they've also warned parents that there may be delays due to other investigations that still need to take place. There are about 20 learners in that particular minibus taxi, Stephen, and I know automatically we think that this is an overload, but authorities are telling us that, an issue of overload is only determined by the age of the learners, because there are laws that sort of determine what an overload is and what it is not. So authorities not very quick to call this an overload, but rather cautioning against that particular narrative. But at the same time, we know that the driver of the minibus taxi also died in this accident, Stephen, as we're hearing just on the sidelines of this accident and through our engagement with authorities, some of them telling us that the learners that survived, some of them managed to escape that minibus taxi before it caught fire. The learner that is still remaining in this hospital was inside the burning taxi. I had an opportunity to speak to his family, quite a brave young man, 12-year-old Stephen, who after this thing happened, while he was still, after he had just been taken out of that burning taxi, being able to make contact with his grandfather, telling his grandfather about what had happened. Even when he arrived at the hospital, he's the one that asked the nurses to assist him with calling his grandfather, to tell the grandfather that he had now been taken to the hospital. His aunt describing how he was burned, the burn wounds that he sustained on the face, on the lower limbs. They're also telling us that he suffered from smoke inhalation. So they'll be now taking him to Baragwanath Hospital due to the nature of his injuries. And you take a look at this tragic incident and the fact that it's only the second day of the third term, really, and already scores of parents are now having to deal with the loss of their loved ones. We're being told, Stephen, that one family lost about 4 children in this tragic incident. The boy that is still in this hospital also lost his cousin, and their family is telling us that this is not the first transport accident that they've experienced. Previously, he was involved in an accident where he only sustained injuries from hitting the window of that particular vehicle, but in this one, it's quite tragic, and obviously they are not taking it lightly. There were questions that were posed about the driver of the other vehicle, and authorities are telling us that he is kept in a different facility, a private hospital, but will be questioned at an appropriate time as these investigations are ongoing. Authorities saying that they're keeping a close eye on him and will be dealing with the necessary requirements in order to determine really what could have happened, and if there is a need, and only if there's a need, and if they find that he was liable for this accident, he may face charges of culpable homicide. So at this very moment, authorities unable to give us a profile of the driver of the other vehicle which hit the minibus taxi that was transporting children. But we're also being told that the families will now be supported. As you can imagine, these children are going to school to meet with some of their friends, their school teachers. So psychosocial support will be provided to the school teachers, the learners, but most importantly, Stephen, their families who are taking this hard. You could have seen the scenes that played out earlier when the family members as well as community members were gathering around the crime scene, waiting to hear and hoping for positive news. When the names of the surviving learners were read out, the ones that could not hear their children's name breaking out and breaking down really at that particular scene. So needless to say, they're going to need a lot of support during this time, and the authorities are saying that they will be providing that kind of support. Stephen.
Linda Mnisi, thank you very much indeed. The most awful tragedy that we're seeing playing out there. Linda, thank you very much indeed. Well.